Who are you and what's your role in the organization?
I'm Coach Scott, and I'm the owner, president of Thunder Softball.
What are 3 goals you have for the organization this spring or fall?
3 goals for the organization. Well, if you'd have asked me that 30 years ago, when I first started doing this, I would have told you that our goals were to be the best team in the state, to be the best team in the region, and be the best team in the country. All right, that's what my goals used to look like. But really now, it's not as much about goals and winning as it is about development. So, the 3 things that I'm most concerned about developing is number one is developing our faith, our walk with Christ. Okay. The second thing I'm most concerned about is developing our character, our moral character skills, and our performance character skills. You know that checklist that we got hanging up at the field. So the character skills. And then the third thing is obviously continue to develop our fundamentals, our catching and throwing and hitting stuff like that. So where it used to be a lot more about results and winning, as I've gotten a little bit older and wiser, I realize it's a bigger picture than that. It's more about, again, in that order, developing our faith, developing our character, and developing our fundamentals.
What makes the Thunder organization different from other organizations?
What makes the Thunder organization different than most other organizations? That's the question, right? So, man, there's a lot of really good organizations out there, right? So I'm not saying we're better than the next one, okay? But what I would say is different, okay, is I think a lot of organizations are more recruiting based and we're more training based. What's different about us is the majority of our girls are from the Central Arkansas area. So again, it kind of takes me back to we're more about the player development side of it more so than the recruiting side of it. And so that'd be the number one difference, I think, between us and a lot of bigger organizations is that we're more local based and training based. Um, the second thing that I would probably say what makes us a little bit different is I train all the teams. So every night of the week we have a different age group come in, and so one night I'll train the 8U teams, next night 10U, and then the next night 12U, and the next night 14 and up. And so I don't think a lot of organizations train that way. I think each team kind of independently trains themselves, and so um, we practice together. So my 9U team practices with my 10U team, right? And our 11-year-old team practices with our 12-year-old team. So I think that's a little bit different too. And I've always kind of called it the secret sauce because it allows our 9-year-old players to learn from our 10U players. It's like when you were 9, you were practicing with the 10Us. But then when you're 10, now you're practicing with the 9Us. So now those 9Us get to learn from you, right? Uh, next year you'll move up to 11Us and you'll practice with the 12Us. And so that's another difference. But I think it's one of the biggest separators in what we do and what other people do. The last thing that I would say what makes us different is a lot of kids that come in and they start at 7U with us and they end at 18U with us, and it's the same system. So we're training our 7-year-olds the same as we train our 18-year-olds. So you, for instance, you came when you were 8, right? So by the time you're 18, you're going to be, you know, receiving the same coaching, the same verbiage, and kind of running the same system all the way through your whole career. So we kind of take you from the beginning all the way to the end till we send you off to play college softball. So I think a lot of programs aren't set up where you can start and finish all with the same team, the same coach. Like I'll be your coach until you're 18 years old, right? So I think that's another separation. But again, man, there's a lot of organizations out there that are doing a really good job. So I'm not saying ours is any better than the next one, but I think the biggest difference is that we're more training based and player development based, but we're also understand that it's a bigger picture than that. Again, for us, it's more about your walk with Christ, your character, and then your player development. Because at that point, if we do those three things in that order, then we're winners regardless of the score on the scoreboard. So that's the best answer I have for those questions. I like those questions though, Aubree. It's those choices that you make is what's going to set you up for success, or it might set you up for failure if you're making the wrong choice, right?